Shalom. First, I'd like to begin this lesson by giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, double honors to the apostles of great milestone that we well, salutation and blessing to the brethren, pushing this word in sincerity and in truth. Hi, dear brother, how are you? Back again to do our edification, a lesson and hopefully edifying. And this lesson will be based off of, Acts 10, more or less, in the sense that Cornelius being an Israelite. I wouldn't go through the Cornelius, the Acts 10, but let's read two verses, and just to prove that there were Israelites in the Italian or the Roman army, whatever the case might be. This thing is not something new, it's not something far-fetched, obviously there would be Israelite soldiers in the army of Rome or wherever the case might be, because they have men of valor would be there. So you conquer a nation, wherever the case might be, you take the spoils, which will be the gold, the women, the mighty men, like Spartacus, whatever the case might be. He fought for whoever he was fighting for at a certain point in time. But anyway, this is Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. Now Italy is located in southern Rome. Okay. It says a devout man and one that feared Yahweh. Now when you read in the book of go to scriptures, Ecclesiastes chapter 19 and verse 20. It says, the fear of Yahweh is all wisdom, and all wisdom is the performance of the law and the knowledge of his omnipotency. And that within itself was showed that the performance of the law, all wisdom, the fear of the Lord is all wisdom. And wisdom is the performance of the law, and the law was only given to the nation of Israel. You understand? That is one of the reasons, just one of the facts to prove that Cornelius, he was an Israelite. Right? And when you go into it also, it says the law was only given. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments. He had not shown them to any other people. Right? The Lord not going and give his laws to any other people. Psalms 147 and verse 19, he showed his words unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He had not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. Yeah. Right? So it says, feared God with all his house, which gave alms to the people, and prayed to Yahweh by Yahushai, or to Yahweh always. Right? So I just want to go into a quick something here. Right? So I type in Google, it says Israelites in the Roman army. And it says, yes, Israelite Jews served in the Roman army in significant numbers, both voluntary and some through force. And exactly, it will have Israelite in the Roman army. They will serve forcefully and they will serve willfully. Now they read the book of First Maccabees, right? Chapter 1 and verse 7. Now Alexander, it says, so Alexander was a Greek, right? But the Greeks and the Romans, they go hand in hand because they have the same philosophical beliefs, whatever the case might be. Right? It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bear rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So this represents Alexander who died and his four generals, right? Who put crown upon their head, right? Ptolemy, Cassander, Lacedaemonius, and Ptolemy, Cassander, Lacedaemonius, and we name his boy. Oh gosh, Cassander, I think. Hopefully that is it. Yeah. So it says crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evil were multiplied in the earth. Verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes. And I think he came out from this Seleucid Ptolemy Cassandra's dynasty, I think. I don't know if I'm mixing it up. Ptolemy Cassandra, Lacedaemonius, and Seleucid. And I believe Antiochus came out from there. Right? So it says, right? So it says, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, right? Son of Antiochus, the king who had been an hostage in Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So this was the Greeks ruling at this time, right? The Greco-Roman empire goes hand in hand. The Greeks and the Romans, right? So Antiochus actually Antiochus came out of the Seleucid dynasty, or the Seleucid line. Alright, it says, verse 11, it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so afraid, was so forward therein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, right? And wait, as you can see here, if we see in verse 11, it says, in those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So it had men of Israel wicked enough to go to the heathens to survive, in other words. It says, so the device pleased them well, and certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. So they follow after the ordinances of the heathen, right? It says, whereupon, verse 14, they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathens, right? So they say, yes, there were Jews they were Israelite Jews served in the Roman army, right? That was Greek, but this is Rome, Greco-Roman Empire. We'll go into that too. In significant number, both voluntary and sometimes through forced conscription, acting as legionaries and auxiliaries, and even reaching high ranks like general. And Cornelius was a centurion. He was a general. He was a centurion. He was a captain of 100. Right? He was a captain. So yes, there were Israelites who forcefully and willingly, as you can see here, they were willing in verse 11. Right? They were willing to go and serve under the Israelite, under the Greeks. So finish off with verse 15. It says, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathens, and were sold to do mischief. Right, so let me jump into it. Let's jump into it. Now this is Project Moss. Did a video on this. Did a video on this a couple of years ago. Right? But you know, every year the same thing come up. So you have to you have to reiterate or remake, whatever you want to put it. You know, but hopefully that is fine. It says the sons of Israel in Caesar's service, Jewish soldiers in the Roman military. Andrew G. Scuddenfield, a chauffeur, an interdisciplinary journal of the Jewish Studies, volume 24, number 3. Right, so we go into it. It says, sons of Israel, Caesar service, Jewish soldiers in the Roman army. The participation of Roman Jewish soldiers in the armies of Imperial Rome often goes unrecognized. This is mainly a result of lack of recognition on the part of scholars who wish to use rabbinic sources as the benchmark of Jewish practices in the imperial age. It is also difficult to identify Jewish soldiers, many of whom had Greek and Latin names, unless they are specifically identified as Jews or are found as a Jewish context, such as dictatory inscription from a synagogue. Nonetheless, by using a variety of sources from the period, it is possible to appreciate the depths and breadth of Jewish service in the Roman legion. From the time of Caesar down to the early 5th century, there are many Jews who served as simple foot soldiers, influential generals like Tiberius Julius Alexander, and Jewish military units such as the Regi Emeseni Idoli, regardless of their relationship to Orthodox Jewish community of the times. The service of the Roman Jews in the imperial army force much be recognized. In the year 69, the Roman province of Idumea of Judea was consumed by 300 rebellion and petty Jews zealous against the authority of the emperor and the house of Herod. Not only was the revolt a destabilizing factor in the eastern region of the empire, but it also posed a significant challenge to the new emperor, Vespasian. In order to quell the Jewish revolts in the eastern marches, Vespasian resolved to send an army under the command of the son, Titus, with explicit orders to crush the insurrection. Although the emperor's young son sounded exceptional talent and lack of relationship in lack of military in military experience deemed necessary for a Roman general. Therefore, the emperor was forced to choose an able commander capable of assisting Titus in the Judean expedition. A great number of prestigious military men were available for the post, including Ananias Vinicius, right, son-in-law of the Frame General Corbulo. But Vespasian made an unlikely choice of an Alexandrian Jew named Tiberius Julius Alexander to search the Roman army in its effort to thwart the Jewish uprising. The emperor's decision was to prove fortuitous, as not only did Tiberius Alexander coordinate a Roman victory in Judea, but he also became Titus' trusted advisor, and many have evidently reached the rank of Praetorian prefect. English. Alright, so let me see here now. Just bear with me for a second. Alright. It says, despite the outstanding military career of the Alexandrian Jews, his name and his legacy are largely unknown outside a small circle of specialists. Likewise, the participation of Jews in the Roman military is a topic that is underemphasized or frankly ignored by historians. Most often, scholars quote the exemption from military service granted to the Jews in Ephesus and Delos, or elaborates on the difficulties that Sabbath service and dietary law posed to Jewish men interest in serving under the imperial flag. When the issue of the Jewish service in the Roman army is addressed, it is not without a certain degree of skepticism and Roman Jews in imperial service are often cast in the light of renegades or apostates, right? Thus, without any documentation of sources, Scarf states the Jews in the Roman army were descended from the bodyguard of the Emersons and Judean royal families who had intermarried and became pagans. You hear that? They intermarried and became pagans. Smallwood states that military service was always bound to cause difficulties for the Jews of the diaspora because of their dietary law, right? Which made their inclusion the inclusion in Gentile units, yeah, impracticable, and their inability to carry out many duties on on the Sabbath. Appian claims that Jews in the Roman army were renegades. And what is a renegade? Right? A person who deserts or betrays an organization, country, or set of principles, which was an Israelite. What you read in the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 12, I think, 13. Let me see. Verse 11. That is a renegade. One who abandon the practices, desert or betray an organization and country. Alright? That is a renegade. Read a few more. It says, and Tiberius Julius Alexander is often cast as an apostate even when it is acknowledged that there is no evidence of this fact. The lack of recognition given to Jewish soldiers who served in the Roman military stemmed primarily from three main issues: the deaths of inscription and manuscripts, specifically addressing Jews in the Roman military, in the ability to recognize Jews with Greeks or Latin names unless they are identified as such, and the tendency of many scholars to rely on rabbinic works in order to reconstitute normal Jewish practices in the Roman world. As a large corpus of Jewish inscription and artifacts from the ancient period has become available, it has become clear that the observance of Judaism in the Roman world was such more variegated that previously supposed authors like Levin and Sketswood, who now challenge the assertion of a prior historian claiming that Jewish practices in the imperial period encompassed the broad range of religious activities from the orthodoxy of the Rabbinic academies to the syn- certain syncretism of Jews who had Latin names and employed pagan motifs in synagogal declaration. With these facts in mind, prospects of active Jewish participation in the military became tangible, and upon careful examination of primary sources, it is possible to demonstrate the profound extent to which Roman Jews operated in the imperial army. Right? So, hey, Akim, Salakia, but I had to go right now. I'm doing some daddy duties, but this is an article that brothers could go through, proving that there were Israelites in the Roman army, and if it had Israelites in the Roman army performing Israelite duties, because they said that it would have been difficult, it used to cause problem when the Israelites had to keep the Sabbath, right? And the dietary laws, whatever the case might be. All right? So they were more than welcome in the army, whether willingly or sometimes forcibly. You understand? So this is nothing, it's not at no land, it's not far-fetched that there were Israelites in any ancient army, whether it be the Roman, the Greeks, the Medes, to put it in baby, whatever the case might be, right? So hopefully the videos edify. Maybe I get a next chance to finish this. As a matter of fact, the article right here I will put it in the description. Shalom to the Lord's sincere and faithful. Shalom to the brethren that's put this word in sincerity and truth. Double honors to the apostles of great millstone. Shalom to the brethren.